हर मकान से आती रोशनी को देखें तो रात के अंधेरे में जमीन पर परी अनगिनत सितारों की एक चादर हो जैसे। इन ऊंची इमारतें कुछ इस कदर सर उठा के खड़ी है कि मानो गुरूर हो इन्हें अपने बुनियाद में सिमटे सदियों पुराने बेशकीमती इतिहास पर। द्राविड़ भारत की एक राजधानी जिसकी धरोहर है बेशकीमती मोतियों की जोरत। एक शहर जिसकी सुबह होती है ईरानी चाय की चुस्के से और शाम सजती है गर्मा गर्म बिरयानी के साथ। जहां हर इमारत की बनावट निशानी है निजामों के शाही अंदाज और विरासत की। चार मीनार से गोलकोंडा तक फैले ये अद्भुत बाजार और उन बाजारों में इत्र सी महकती अनोखी कहानियां बयां करते हजारों दुकानदार। भूत भारत भविष्य की इस पहली पेशकश में हम जानेंगे हाल फिलहाल हैदराबाद। हमारी सोच Cheez.social की बुनियाद इस शहर से जुड़ी है, तो सोचा क्यों न सफर की शुरुआत भी यहीं से हो। आज इस सफर में हमारे साथ एक माहिर भी है, एक खास शख्स जिन्हें इश्क है हैदराबाद की हर गली से। पेशे से पत्रकार और पहचान से यूनुस लजानिया, जिनकी हर रोज एक कोशिश है इस शहर को आपके दिलों में ताज़ा और दुरुस्त रखना। तो चलिए रुक लेते हैं हैदराबाद के दास्ताने निगार दैट हैदराबादी बॉय का और ज़रा नज़दीक से जानते हैं इस शहर को।
So I'm a journalist by training. I like to write. I love to write. I've been writing my whole life. So I worked for the New Indian Express, and then I worked for the Hindu, and then I worked for Mint. So I think about 13. I started working in 2012, 13, 14, 15. By 2013, I joined the Hindu. So while I was working for the Hindu, about a year and a half after I joined the Hindu, I had a new boss. And incidentally, he also does what I do, but he does not do heritage works, but he's been writing about history from like 15 years. He knows a lot. So in fact, he's written a book on Golconda, Cheez.social. Very, very good book. I would highly recommend it. Cheez.social, just type Golconda, you will find it. But basically, I think at that point of time, nobody in my entire office was like focusing on heritage or history. And I think I was always a little bit interested either way. It's just that I never like thought about it. Ke kuch kar sakte iska. So what happened was I started writing because in 2016, after Sirish took charge, in INTAC, right? In INTAC, Indian National Trust for Arts and Culture and stuff. So INTAC released its list of heritage awards for some specific 8 to 10 buildings for that particular year. So that included the Wesley Garrison Church, and I think there was a temple, this church was there, and there were a whole other bunch of buildings. So I asked Sirish, do you think I can like take all of these buildings and write about them one by one? Started from that. So Wesley Garrison Church incidentally also turned out to be my chief of bureau's church also, so he told me after. But anyway, so basically, I found it interesting. Like when I went to the church, they were also happy to talk. The church basically, for anybody who's interested in learning, is over 170 years. I think 173, 172 years old. See, it's a very typical British church started by missionaries. But the interesting part is that apparently the belfry of the church is empty because the founding priest, while he was coming from Europe by ship, he died. He was getting the bell for the church, so they kept it empty for him. So like things like that. Then I think you came for the Secunderabad walk last week, right? So when you had come to see the oldest church, we didn't go to the oldest church, that is the St. John's Church, because around the time when we completed the walk, they have their service. So we can't disturb the service. So I thought I actually skipped my mind, but I was going to tell people who are interested they can go there. But anyway, so I stay like 5 minutes away from the St. John's Church, and I actually used to pass by it every single day to go to school. Never thought about much of it. My best friend also used to go there. Then I actually realized while writing about the Wesley Garrison कि oh ये church भी है मेरे घर के पास ही है. So then I went there, I talked to them, I like really put in some digging, I asked them for information and like this and that, बहुत सारा research किया. I wrote about it for my Instagram page. So what happened was so that time I was not really thinking about Instagram or anything. I just wanted to write. So I started a blog called the Hyderabad History Project, and I was writing. So actually, to be honest, I should start updating the blog. But what happened is that I started writing about it, and I thought, chalo, theek hai. Blog was taking up too much time, and I figured maybe it's easier to post just like snippets of information on Instagram. That's when the whole idea started. So then 2016 this happened. It continued. I started writing about Hyderabad slowly. It was, I think for 2 years also it was going very slow. I think I didn't have more than 800 followers even in 2018, right? Yeah. So 2000, but before that in 2017 February, the Hindu had launched its Sunday edition. Uske liye they were looking for pitches. So then incidentally 24th September happened to be in 2017 the 50th death anniversary of Hyderabad's last Nizam. So I was seeing the media at that point of time, if anybody's writing it, it turned out nobody's writing anything. I mean, I think yahan wahan kuch kiye the, even his family members and all had his own like, and even today they have the anniversary every year. So I thought, okay, you know what, I should probably write a nice story, but I wanted to do something different. So instead of like digging a history book, of course I did some reading also, but I thought, chalo theek hai, I'll do some work on this. And I found some people who knew him, or at least some people who had met him, or some people who had met, like who were directly dealing with him, at least in some way or the other. And I wrote a story based on what people knew about him and things like that. So there's the general notion that Usman Ali Khan, the last Nizam, is a miser, which I disagree with. Like, I wouldn't say he was Kanjus. Calling him Kanjus is actually a little bit of a disservice, because Usman Ali Khan, he was very frugal in spending on himself. Like, you know, you can't be a Kanjus if you've built a whole city. Like, literally all the like Usmania University, Usmania Hospital, all Mozam Jahi Market, all the modern institutions were built by Usman Ali Khan, right? So he, not even simple, I would say, but more he like frugal. Like, personally, I don't think he would spend on him. I didn't think he liked spending on himself, but he had a vision. He built a city. Of course, he has criticisms. I'm not going to get into that. But my point is, I wrote the article. That article, I got emails from America, from God knows where. It like so many people read it, and I was like, it's really hit a nerve. People were really wanting to read something, and I realized, okay, there is some potential in this. So that happened February, March. Somebody recommended me to Sahapedia for a heritage walk. That was the first walk I did, was a food walk, incidentally, and I didn't learn about history much back then. The second oldest monument of Hyderabad is a place called the Badshahi Ashur Khana. So after the walk we went there, but I realized I didn't know much about it. So uske baad, then I think I conducted the Secunderabad church walk, for which I did a lot of work. I actually went to each church, found out the history, had with people, talked, like wrote about whatever I could. I like spent, I think, at least 2 weeks just to like, you know about each place. It helps that I'm a journalist, so they were little more receptive. Or generally people are like, oh, who's random person coming and asking us questions. So uske baad I did that, and I told them मेरे को walk करना है. So I actually got permission to like enter the, like the Catholic churches are open in the mornings for everyone, but Protestant churches are not open generally every day. Like, they're open only on specific days, on Sundays mainly. So then I actually spoke with them, because I live in Secunderabad. Secunderabad has a lot of Christians, and many of whom I have studied with also. So it was easier for me to just talk to them and get permission from here and there, and I did that. Second walk, okay. Then that is when I started doing walks with Sahapedia. For a while, chala, it was fine. Then 2018 also. Then in between, I just thought maybe I should have I just very randomly put up a story one day and asked, like, if people are interested in attending a heritage walk, if I conduct one. I just started like that.
सफर में आगे यूनुस हमें ले पहुंचे इब्राहिम बाग में। कुतुबशाही समय के बहुत से सुल्तानों ने यहाँ अपने जीवन को विराम दिया और इन्हीं कब्रों पर इतिहास का दर्पण लिए शान से खड़े हैं इंडियन और पर्शियन आर्किटेक्चर के दिलचस्प मेल से बने अनमोल नमूने। चलिए जानते हैं इन अति सुंदर स्थापत्य की पीछे छिपी कहानियाँ।
Jamshed, and so here's the interesting thing: Sultan Quli gets murdered by an assassin hired by Jamshed. Jamshed actually hired a man named Mir Hamdani. Mir Hamdani incidentally happened to be from Hamdan, from where he's from. He gets apparently stabbed 23 times in the same mosque. So we know for a fact that the Golconda kingdom is or was founded in 1518 because outside the Golconda fort is a small mosque called the Safa Masjid. So he built that mosque in 1518, and on that mosque is a proper inscription where it dates the fact that whatever was done at that point of time. The mosque is also named after the Safavid Empire in Iran. And because these guys, like I said, were more in tune with Iran rather than North India, right? That is also one reason why the Mughals didn't like them. So, see, I don't know anything about Hyderabad until I was 25, 26. And I realized that's a very massive problem. It's because people don't know anything that there is so much misinformation and they're more prone to believing anything. If you know something, if you know facts, you are more likely to counter it when you come across misinformation, right? That is why. And also, I realized in Hyderabad and Telangana for a long, long time, when Telangana was part of Andhra Pradesh, the entire history of Telangana and Hyderabad was completely overshadowed with Andhra. The irony is that Andhra Pradesh does not have a capital even today. And the irony is that while studying in school, they barely taught us anything about our own capital here. It's like there was an Andhra bias against Telangana and Hyderabad. It's very obvious. Now it's not there in our books because we're part of Telangana, but it's there. It was there. It's that plus general apathy where governments are also not interested in teaching us about history, heritage. I think Calcutta and Bengal people are a little bit more rooted in culture. Yahan par it's there, everybody sees it, but nobody wants to do anything else beyond certain point. So that happened, and then after that, I started conducting walks, and I realized people enjoy it. Then I realized that now it's I think it's if I don't do these walks, I think at least a few people who want to learn don't have any more avenues. My main aim is to at least give people a sense of history about they'll people at least from Hyderabad maybe when they listen to these things it's like people study in these same colleges we're talking about. People go to the same university. People go to these cafes every day, so they'll maybe have a sense of belongings. Like for example, a lot of the times I have these old Hyderabadi Muslim and Telugu families. Telugu Hindu family, who are people whose families have shifted abroad. So the parents come back with nostalgia. They get their children, they get their entire families. They want to now show their children what the city has. So it's like that. See, I think lifestyle in the sense, I think it's completely changed, right? If you're talking about even Hyderabad around or after independence, it was a very laid back city where things still in the old city start very late, 11:30, 12 o'clock. The shops open that late. It stays open late. The normal Hyderabadi household things happen late, like people wake up a little late, go a little late, come a little late. I think that's not possible anymore. I think food habits have also changed. It's a very weird mix now where you have I think the older generation is still a little bit set in their own ways. But the new generation, I think, that's the thing, right? The new generation has no connect with anything. Like that's what I've been part of. Like I realized that's the reason I conduct the walks, because the entire generation, starting from mine or even before, basically grew up very aimless about the city without learning anything. I think the internet not. I think that's where I think the government books, the school textbook should have taught something. Like it's the I don't know. I think lifestyle change. A lot of people today also move abroad. A lot of people have gone to the Gulf. So I don't think Hyderabadis today want to particularly stay in Hyderabad to build something. Most of them are, people who have privilege, people who have wealth want to move out and build something for them. So that's fine. It's not really a problem. There's so much of stuff I've seen change, right? The city was a very small place. Compared to other major cities, Hyderabad is a very small place. In the sense, for example, Banjara Hills was on outskirts. Was the outskirt. Even like until the 1980s and 70s, 80s probably. Lakdi ka Pul ke baad, yeah, Mehdipatnam was basically a military garrison, the whole first Lancer area. And after that, it was pretty empty. Nobody used to like go there. Like University of Hyderabad and all, it was like unsafe to go for a long time and stuff like that. So that's how it was. Like Hyderabad, I remember, it was a little calm place. It was not exactly like it was like in the middle between like a big city and a small city. And it was like it's like we had our own things. Like we didn't have a lot of, like, it was like a little below Delhi, Bombay, where, we got McDonald's thoda late. And we had a lot of local stuff, for example, for burgers and pizzas and stuff, like for like any other city. And most of it is gone. Like, see, I think that's happening in every city, like you only have tiny fragments of the past left, where now only a few things are left. Like I don't think I actually remember my childhood remaining anywhere, because pretty much everything is gone. Earlier, I remember very distinctly, even as a school student also, all after college, people used to sit at cafes for time pass, just to chat. They would, have conversations. I mean, there's no one doing that anymore. It's most people are just, going to come, have chai and just leave.
दौलत शोहरत गहनों की बात आती है तो मुगलों के चर्चे हमेशा होते हैं, पर हैदराबाद के इन निज़ामों के पास कुछ ऐसा भी था जिसका कीमत $150 मिलियन है। गोलकोंडा की हीरा खदान प्रसिद्ध था दुनिया के तमाम कीमती हीरे उत्पन्न करने में। द जेकब डायमंड भी इन्हीं खदानों में से निकला था। सिर्फ यही नहीं, 22 अनसिट एमरल्ड्स के साथ निज़ामी संग्रह से मिले टर्बन ऑर्नामेंट, नेकलेस, झुमके, ब्रेसलेट्स, बेल्ट्स, शाही बटन और ना जाने कितने बेशकीमती खजाने, जो कभी हैदराबादी निज़ामों, उनकी बीवियां, बच्चे या पोता पोती का हुआ करता था।
See, there are several families which have been staying here from the time of when the city was founded, like from the Golconda period itself. You have especially some Shia Muslim families, because the founders of the Golconda kingdom were Shia Muslim, right? So there are several families who have been in Hyderabad from at least 3 centuries, right? So 300 years. And then from the Nizam period of Hyderabad is about 224 years old. So under the Nizam period also, you have people who have been there since then. Like there are several families which came down with the Nizams to Hyderabad. So for example, you have Salar Jung's family. The Salar Jung family has been part of the Nizam state's administration from the late 1700s, 1800s. So it's like at least 200 something years. Sorry, almost 200 years. My bad. I'm not sure of the exact date when, but basically the government of India turned all of the private collections of Salar Jung III and the Salar Jung family into a private museum. So, into a government-run museum, because Salar Jung Museum is controlled by the central government, unlike the other state museums which are run by the state. And for example, the Nizams Museum is run by the Nizams family. So you have this family, and you have people from the Nizams family itself who are still here, right? So this is like a huge, massive family. And then you had an administration full of people. A lot of the people from the administration also moved out of Hyderabad and went abroad after independence. So many of them are abroad also. But apart from that, for example, there's a family here that makes something called Badam Ki Jali, which is basically a sweet, like I guess you would say is the Badam version of the Kaju Katli in a way. But it's very famous for its designs and stuff and things like that. It's also in the design of a gold coin also, Ashrafi. So it's in a place called Aziz Bagh. That family has been there from at least close to 1.5 century, right? So you have people who've been from generations. And then, for example, the official doctors, one of the official doctors of the Nizams from the Nizam period is called family called Arastu Yar Jung. Arastu Yar Jung, I think, originally came from Gujarat, if I'm not wrong, right? So there are families that have come here from different places and also who have settled down. Then there's a place called Barkas, which is basically the corrupt form of the word barracks, because that is the place where the Yemeni or the Arab soldiers settle down. You have those families also which have been in Hyderabad from at least over a century. So it's all over. Then you have a lot of Anglo-Indian families which have been from the British period here. Then you have several others from different other periods, like there are families that have come from some places, from some Delhi, from Madhya Pradesh. But there are people, it's a big pot of different communities, including a lot of Telugu families also, which have been here from God knows how many generations. So it's like that also. And then you have, for example, a lot of Marwadi traders who have come here. Many of the traders have been here from at least 3 to 4 generations in a place, for example, called Afzalganj. The Pardada or somebody has come. Like Secunderabad, I know from a family called the Malani family, whose ancestor is a man called Seth Ramgopal. You came for the walk, right? Seth Ramgopal came in the mid-19th century. They've been there since then. So you have Marwadis, you have Marathi merchants, you have British, you have Anglo-Indians, you have people from the Nizam's administration, you have family members, several kind of family members, so like that. See, so there are certain things, for example, nearby the Charminar, on the way to the Charminar, you have something called the Pathargatti market, which was set up as a modern market in the 1920s. So that is a place where you have a lot of Marwadi traders also, who were very specifically invited to the Hyderabad state by the Nizam to kind of boost economics and trade. So there are a lot of old ittar shops set up by those Marwadi families. And then apart from that, you also have the Mozam Jahi market, which was set up in 1935. It was like a proper place for different merchants to sell different things. Like, Aaj it's a full of place where you get dry fruits, where you get ittar also, and where you get fruits and stuff. So it's been like that from back then. Abids is an area which is named after the Jewish valet of the 6th Nizam. Abids is also a very important market, because that is a place where you have some of the older jewelry shops, where you have something called FD Khan and Sons, which is a very old kapde ka dukan. Then you also have something called, which is Hollywood Footwear, is not very old, but it is now a very major landmark there. It's a shoe shop. And then after that, you also have in Abids, piche ke side where you have a lot of Marwadi again traders there. You have different things in different areas. So it's a collection of different markets all together. Abids is where historically, I think people from the last 2 generations have been going to buy kapda and stuff for different occasions. Like Abids is like one of the main markets.
हम लौटेंगे भूत भारत भविष्य के एक नए एपिसोड में, कुछ नए लोग, नए कहानियां और आपको लेकर।